still remember the first time I landed in Canada, and the friendly middle-aged lady at the customs at Toronto Pearson asking me, "Are you traveling alone?" She must have never seen a 17-year-old enter Canada for the first time solo. We chatted a bit while I produced the papers that I had been instructed to give to the customs upon arrival. Next, I was in a room where my luggage was being inspected by two young officers. One of them, a lanky white dude, was going through my stuff when I heard him say to the female officer, "Oh yeah, I always find them." Crap. They must have found my grandpa's moonshine, I thought. Out of my luggage came an apple. He made a triumphant cry, then turned to me looking very serious. He started interrogating me. Did I not answer in the survey that I packed my own luggage and I am not carrying animal or plant-based products and so on? I instinctively tried to fall back on every foreigner's recourse and pretended like I didn't understand what was being said, but when he started talking about the fine of about $200+, I panicked. An awful feeling came over me and a flashback to about 16 hours ago. My maternal grandparents, aunt, and my mom, all in the living room, circled around my open luggage. I was sitting with my eyes half shut, lethargic about my departure. It was 6 or so in the morning, and I only slept for a couple of hours that night, since I had spent the last night drinking and smoking weed in lieu of my farewell to Belgrade. If a wrecking ball had feelings, it would have been on par with mine at that moment. My grandpa brought his homemade brandy, its transparent contents looking slightly suspicious in a plastic water bottle. There was a debate among the family of how the liquor should be packed. My grandma and my mom had made heaps of pies, sandwiches, and pizza in case I should get hungry on my transatlantic journey. After the bottle was wrapped in layers of newspapers and plastic bags, and my packing done, my grandpa whipped out an apple from his textile grocery bag and stuck it in the luggage. As a responsible traveler, I had informed myself of the things that I could bring with me: a carton of cigarettes, 1.14 liters of spirits. I wasn't sure how much of 100-proof moonshine does that entail, but I decided to just hope for the best, and no animal and plant products. Little did I know that I would eat all the food before coming to Vancouver, and that the meals provided on planes are hardly a replacement for food I had back home. I told him I didn't want to bring it, but he stubbornly argued if I can carry all of Grandma's pies, I can surely pack one apple. As usual, he was yelling at no one in particular, as if he were addressing a platoon of his cadets training for the Yugoslav National Army. Grandpa was often teased by the family that, as a former army officer, he never learned to control the volume of his voice when he got into a heated argument. This time no one was in the mood for joking, and he was adamant. Packing an apple was a tradition which meant for safe journeys of travelers. I was going to toss the apple or eat it somewhere along the way, but after hours of sleepless flights, my feet and back numb from sitting, I totally forgot about it. Now I was looking at my demise. All along I thought it would be the moonshine. I thought about the money that my family gave me, everyone putting big paper bills into my hands, before bursting into tears and bidding me farewell. This fine was so much money for me, and though I could have paid it then, I couldn't help but feel dismayed. By Serbian standards, $200 was nearly median monthly income at the time. A thought must have gone through my mind along the lines of, "God damn it, Grandpa, you and your fucking apple. It ain't so lucky after all." Then ensued a word vomit. "I didn't know that apple was in there. Maybe someone, my grandpa or my mom, they put it there. They didn't tell me." I was struggling with words, explaining myself in English to a native speaker for the first time, and not having yet decided what my story was, my lie only covered up by the poor and crass articulation of my explanation. I realized that I must sound so foolish, and my eyes welled up almost in tears. I must have looked crushed. The lady pulled him aside and said something to him. I couldn't hear what it was, but I could tell that he was softening and somewhat reluctantly let me go with a warning that if this should happen ever again. I knew the last part was bullshit. Being this young and miserable could get you out of any trouble, it seemed. But I was thanking them profusely, especially her. I had no doubt who made the call to let me off the hook. I walked out of the office feeling rattled to the core. I was out of the international zone and, for the first time, treading on Canadian soil. Suddenly a big smile came over my face. Yes, the apple was tossed away, but the moonshine made it to Canada after all. And at the end of a long corridor there awaited for me a welcoming party. My dad, my brother, and his wife. After years of separation, we were finally together.